All right, all right. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. It's a beautiful day here in Rio de Janeiro. I'll ask Wanda how things are over there in New York here in a second. But so we're here with Wanda Wallace, and I'm just really excited to talk to her because I mean, you guys know me. I love communication. I love creating. I love content. And over the past few years, I've worked almost exclusively with executive and leadership coaches. So all I'm thinking about and talking about is how people can lead more effective teams and how they leaders themselves, how you can express yourself online more and be visible and share your mission and your vision and just yourself. And so Wanda, like, she is all about communication. And most, I'd say, coaches, they really focus on, say, the management side and the structural kind of side. But what I love about Wanda and what she's going to share is we're really going to get into the personal communication side, the authenticity side, what it really means to be a great leader. So Wanda, thank you so much for being here. How the heck are you? How's it going?
I am great. What could be better than talking to you, Ryan, about a topic I love and you love? Like, that's as good as it gets.
That is as good as it gets. And here we are doing a cool podcast show live on the internet for all of us to see. Very, very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah. So how is it going over
Okay.
there? How is New York these days? It is pretty
All
nice and
right.
sunny over here in Rio, but
Today is gorgeous. The sun is streaming in so much so that I have to bring the shade down on my apartment or my office so that I don't blind myself on the camera and the video. It's just beautiful. And it's that nice, lovely spring kind of weather where it's warm, you don't need a coat, but it's not so warm that you're sweating to death. It's perfect. Like I
oh,
said, it's a perfect day.
yeah, perfect day. Nice. Yeah, I was just out at the beach this morning. I live here in Copacabana in Rio de Janeiro, and I was out there with my aunt this morning, went for a nice swim. So it looks like we're
Very
both in
good.
sunny states of mind and places here today. And yeah, as a reminder here, guys, so all the stuff that we're gonna talk about, Wanda, she has a book. She's got a few books, which is another thing I want to ask about. How you, as someone, a leader, executive, a coach, how you're sharing yourself on the internet through social media, and how you can have maybe the encouragement or inspiration or know how to publish your own work, publish your ideas and your
Yeah.
books as well. I want to ask Wanda about that. But so she's got a book called You Can't Know It All. So you definitely want to check that out after this. And she's got another one coming out in 2027. So we'll talk about that. But first, Wanda, I want to ask about something that we call the expert trap. And I thought there's something interesting about, about being a leader and how you're supposed to know it all, but then maybe you get to a point where, definitely correct me and go into this if I'm kind of going in the wrong place, but it's like where you're supposed to kind of like know it all and know what you're doing, but then either it gets to a point where you don't, or maybe you have to get to this place of realizing that you don't actually know it all in this expert trap. So what does that
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. 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 All right. So early in your career, the first parts of your career, you're spending your time becoming the expert. You're learning stuff. And it's kind of the exciting part of your career because you're learning so much so fast. And it's just all the stuff that you need to know. You reach a point where you are a bit of a master of your area, whatever area that is in, doesn't matter. You become a master of that. And then usually at that point, we ask you to start leading a team. And when you're leading that team, typically you know more than your team members. That's why we have you leading. You're there to train, to help coach, to develop, to mentor, all those sorts of things. All right. And here's the trap. In most industries today, we rely on expertise throughout your career. It never really goes away. But there's a point at which, when we add more to your responsibility set, you cannot know everything under your responsibility in the same depth you knew the beginning part of your career. And that's where the expertise trap becomes a problem. That's where this notion, as you started with, Ryan, that I'm supposed to know it all gets in the way. At one part in your career, in one part of your area of responsibility, yes, you're supposed to know, but you can't know it all. And if you try to know all of it at that moment, then you are slowing the organization down, because your job at that moment is to enable the organization to move forward, which means you have to know some things, but not everything. You need to be able to steer your team, but they have the depth of information. You're asking intelligent questions. Your job fundamentally changes from knowing to enabling. And being really clear about that moment in time is what makes you effective as a leader. Because if you're waiting for you to learn everything you need to know, we're all sitting there waiting days for an answer on something, weeks, months, that we should have just gone ahead with. You got to, and there's a bit of you got, your team has the expertise. Let them be the experts.
Hmm.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so how much of that has to do with your skills as a communicator as opposed to your mindset as a communicator and leader? So, one of the things that's always stuck with me is I think it was the who's the guy who owned the big like steel mills back in the day? He oh man, just like really famous name. I forgot his name, but any Reardon. No, now I'm thinking of another book. Well, so it was somebody, he's like leading like the biggest steel company in the US, just massive. But one of his main quotes, something they always bring up about him is he said, the reason why I'm so successful is because I surround myself with people who are smarter than me at what they do. So it seems like to have that kind of leadership, it's
Yeah.
like this mindset too of, hey, I'm letting my ego kind of go aside and it's okay that I'm not the smartest. But what is there a balance? Is it all mindset, or is there like kind of a skill technique you can learn as well?
They're skills. I mean, and that's what the whole book, the book, You Can't Know It All, is all about. What are the skills you develop in being able to adopt this mindset? There are many leaders who said that. So I don't know which one in particular. I suspect you're thinking about Dale Carnegie, but it could have been any number of people who've said, I surround
Mm,
myself by the smartest people. Think about it, though, from your own point of view, Ryan. Who do you want to work for?
mm,
Somebody who constantly has to be smarter than you? Or somebody who's really pulling on your expertise, asking you what you think, capitalizing on your knowledge and your experience, making you feel great about what you're contributing. Which one you want to work for? First or the last?
the last for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So the secret then, as a leader, when I am not the expert and I see my job as not having the answers, I still have to do something. I still have to add value. So I have to ask myself, what is it that I'm doing to add value? And usually, what I'm doing is asking the overarching questions. Like, I know we're headed in a particular direction, and I'm worried about three major risks in that direction. So, you come to me with a proposal or with an insight or with a data analysis, and I'm going to say to you, okay, so tell me, Ryan, how does that impact this? And how do you see this as this particular problem? And well, explain to me how this works in your own language. I'm asking smart questions that both inform me about the bigger story and also get you to think the way I want you to be thinking. And now
Mm,
I'm enabling, but I got to start with understanding my value is not what I know, not the facts I know. My value is something else.
mm.
And sometimes making people feel good about themselves is part of the value that you bring.
You know what, Wanda? Yeah, I think that's right on, and that's where my mind was going. I feel like there was a point in my life where I learned how to listen, and I learned that, and it very well probably came from Dale Carnegie. That's like when my personal development journey started with how to win friends and influence people. And one of the biggest things, yeah, that I learned was that if I just ask people questions and I listen to them, then people like really start like people started liking me a lot. So I was somebody,
Yeah.
in oh, my aunt's calling me. That's not a good time, Auntie. So so like being in middle school and high school, I always kind of felt like, I don't really know who I am exactly. I'm kind of a mediocre person. Oh my gosh. Sorry. So kind of just like just mediocre person kind of going through life and like, who am I? What do I stand for? What are my values? I don't know. Like I have friends and everyone kind of likes me, but I'm not really a part of anything, a part of any kind of group. And then, but I started, learning about personal development and communication. And then I started to listen to people and ask them questions. And then I realized that, I could be just listening to someone for 15, 20 minutes or something, talk and asking some questions. And then all of a sudden I see that person a couple days later, and they're like, Ryan, hey, how's it going? Like, how are you doing? And all of a sudden, I'm the kind of person that everyone
Mhm.
likes to talk to and share things with. And isn't that like one of the thing that everybody talks about? Like everyone says, we got to listen more. You got to listen more. And but why do we have to talk about it so much? Why is it like it's such a difficult thing for some people to do?
Because we believe in our heads that our job is to impress other people with how much we know.
Mm,
That's why the book You Can't Know It All. If I believe I've got to prove to you that I'm smart enough, I believe that I have to prove that I know enough, I have to prove that I know more information than anybody else, then I'm going to talk. I'm not going to listen. If you change that mindset, it's not about proving, it's about enabling all of us to go forward. Yeah, it changes my behavior.
mm,
But it's true. I mean, if you think of one of the things I love is Jean Turner's work, and she talks about four different kinds of conversations. One is the one we spend all of our time on at the moment, which is budgeted. I've got limited time. Here's what I need, ba 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 ba, and it leads to very transactional conversations. And I'm trying to tell you what I want, how I want it, ba 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 ba. Versus the polar opposite, which is an invitational conversation, meaning it is a two-way dialogue. I'm interested in learning something from you, and you're interested in learning something from me. It is
mm,
the only space for real collaboration or real creativity. But we've forgotten how to do that because our mindset is rush, 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 prove, 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 make impact, impact, impact. We've lost that skill. It has to change. It's a mindset and then it's a skill.
mm-hmm. So let me ask you this question. How do you feel about small talk and the role it plays in our conversations?
Okay. All right. Small talk is important when I'm first meeting somebody because when I find a thing that we share in common, I'm going to increase the chances that I build a degree of trust. Now, you're still not going to give me the keys to your bank account, at least not on a first initial meeting, maybe eventually, ha ha. But
Mhm.
that small talk builds a common ground, a connection between us that makes it easier to then open up later. All right. Now, if the small talk is on the weather, unless you're a weather buff, that doesn't go very far. But if I'm doing small talk on something I care about, something you're interested in, and we find we have common ground, then that's going to make really, really good impact. So the skill is in A, having some things I'm willing to talk about, and B, asking enough questions to figure out what it is you're really interested in talking
Mm,
about. And then we can have a chit chat. Now, if you're extroverted, that chit chat is going to be a long one. If you're more introverted in nature, then it's going to be a short one. You're going to run out of patience for the small talk quickly. And I need to be able to read which way you go and then follow that lead. Okay?
yeah. Yeah.
Watch salespeople, watch sales leaders who are phenomenal salespeople. They are masters at putting them in a room, they'll find a connection with absolutely anybody in that room.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Amen. I think that's a quality that I have. And I want to ask you how the small talk, that connection varies from culture to culture, and as far as like business culture to business culture, because I kind of have a special relationship or a way that I think about small talk and in culture. So personally, I love small talk. I don't understand. It's not that I love small talk, but I what I don't love is people that say that they hate small talk because it doesn't really make sense. It feels like it's just an excuse to really say
Mhm.
I'm afraid to have conversations. Like I'm uncomfortable having
Ah,
conversations with new people. And if you want, and they say, oh, I just like to have long, in-depth conversations. I like to talk about real stuff, but you can't get to that real stuff unless you have small
fair
talk
enough.
conversations.
Yeah, I think about it in terms of degree. So you started our conversation today talking about the weather. How is it in New York? What's happening in New York? And I played along, but you may notice I didn't really come alive. I
Mm,
can do small talk. I'm perfectly capable of doing small talk, but when my mind is on a content or an idea or what I need to say or where we need to go in this conversation, it's harder for me to do small talk. So what you want to get smart is reading is how much. Small talk is still necessary. How much of it? Is this a conversation where I've got a minute, 2 minutes to build that connection? Or is this a conversation where I've got 5, 10 minutes to build that connection? 30 minutes sometimes even. Just read the room is the classic way that we say it. And it varies more, in my experience, person to person than it does culture to culture. Yes, some cultures are more small talk oriented. Some cultures are less small talk oriented, yes, but I will still find individual differences even within those cultures. So I got to read the individual, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay, now let me explain this to you. It's not that I don't like small talk, so let me back up and kind of give
Yeah.
you a frame on this one that will help you think about it. It has to do with where my head is. So I'm starting a conversation with you, kind of thinking about what are the 5 points that I want to make? How is this going to flow? Is the technology working the way it now? So I've got content on my mind. It's a shift of gears for me to shift and talk about something else. But the more you can pick up on a topic I'm actually interested in, the easier the small talk becomes.
Mm-hmm.
So, you said you were swimming this morning with your auntie. So if I really wanted to do small talk with you, I'd pick up on that cue and ask you about it. So it sounds like you have a special relationship with your auntie. And I will bet that leads to a story. And I will bet in that story, if I'm listening, it leads to a connection of me and one of my aunties that I'm particularly close with, or family member that I'm particularly close with, or some experiences. And we'll connect over what was a small talk. But notice we moved from the weather to something that's more personal. To me,
Mm-hmm.
that's the secret. Does
Mm.
that make sense?
Yeah. So what do you say to someone who doesn't value conversations, small talk conversations? They're a boss, a leader. They're more like direct. They just think that, hey, it's just important to say what needs to get done. And if you don't like it, then that's too bad. Like, what do you say to those
There's
people?
a place for that. There is a place for that. But at the same time, if you don't, as a leader, if you don't know something about every single person who works with you and for you, then you are sub-optimizing your impact on that person. And you're putting yourself at risk that they are going to just walk out of the door one day in the middle of a crisis that you needed them for. So why would you take that risk? The only way I'm going to know something about each individual is I have to have a conversation with them about what they do on the weekend, about what music they listen to, about what TV shows they're watching, about what their hobbies are, about their family structure, about who they're close to, about where they live, about where they want to travel. I mean, there's 100 topics. Pick one. But the point is not pick one just for me. I pick one to learn something about you. So that
Mm,
then when I see you next week, I can say, hey, Ryan, how was that thing on the weekend? And then you're going to feel a more personal connection. And then you're going to have a little bit more loyalty to me. And then I'm a chance of inspiring you. And I got a better chance that you're going to say, hey, Wanda, I'm unhappy with this job. Could we make a change here? It
mm,
all starts with knowing something about each individual who works with you and for you.
mm. Yeah. And I think taking that action is a skill in and of itself, the will to want to do that. At least it was for me, like something that I learned about being a good communicator, really just somebody who can get along with everyone, someone who I can talk to anyone on the street in a work environment, whether they have high status or low status, whatever that is that I learned to have an interest in other people. And it was like literally something that I had to learn how to do. And that's where listening and asking questions came in. And so, I'll sit and have conversations with people that a lot of people are like I don't
Why?
like that person. How could you want to even talk to that person? Or I've had plenty of conversations with people I don't even like, but I'm asking them questions about stuff because I kind of want to figure out like what's going on. Why do they think the way that they think? And they'll say something I completely don't agree with at all, but I'm not going to say, hey, like you're a dickhead, why would you think that? I say, oh well, why do you think that? And that's given me an ability yet to
Yeah.
get with kind of people wherever I want to go. So what why don't people do that? Why are there people that don't? It's so simple to know, and it makes so much sense to learn something about each one of your employees. So what holds people back from doing that if it's so obvious?
It has nothing to do with the skill in my experience, because every human being has that skill, that capability. The question is, what do you believe your job is in the first place? So if you believe your job is to make sure that everybody is doing what you want them to be doing, that they're structured, that they're producing the output that you're expecting, that we're trying to be as efficient as we possibly can at every single moment in time, then you will treat people almost like a machine.
Mm.
I care about you while you're inside the walls of this work. I'm not interested in you outside of that. And if that is your mindset, that is what's going to come across in your communication. So the secret is to recognize that you can't treat people like a machine, not if you want all the things we talk about today: collaboration, inspiration, motivation, engagement, ideas. You want that kind of stuff, then it comes in the human package, not in the output package. Change your mindset. The skills are easy to practice. So I want to take something you said and just add a piece to it. Okay, if you stop to think, I want people to want to work for me, to want to go that extra mile for me. Okay. All right. But I'm unwilling to go an extra mile for them. How is that going to work? I want people to like me or to listen to me, but I'm unwilling to listen to them. It's not going to work. So I have to show first what it is I want as a leader in order to get back what I'm looking for. I have to show engagement if I want engagement back. I have to show that I'm listening if I want listening back. And again, if you shift to that mindset from tell, do, request, ask, transact to relational, it changes everything.
Is there a trade-off though? Is there any, negative trade-off to going into this different mode of, rather than telling and getting what you want and risking some relationships? Like, what's the downside?
Okay, well, I don't want to just tell everybody everything to do. We all know that that doesn't work terribly well, and people don't tend to follow instructions terribly well either. I do have to give some guidance, though. So there are some boundary conditions that as a leader I'm responsible for saying. There's a direction that I'm responsible for saying. I need clarity on what I mean by that. I need metrics on what success really looks like. So there's plenty of things that I need to tell to set the conditions for my team to be effective. Okay? But I don't get that real engagement, commitment, accountability if I don't have the human element with it as well. So it can't go one at the expense of the other. It is really truly in balance between the clarity on where we're going, what we're doing, what we're not doing, as well as the human relational thing. Now, with that, one of the downsides, Ryan, is when you're leading people, you have difficult conversations to have on a regular basis. You have feedback messages to give that are not easy to give. You have difficult negotiations with your clients or with your peers or with your boss even. You must get skilled at having those conversations and not avoiding them for too long, because you do no one any service. And that, like, I want people to like me, I want to listen, I want all that jazz, but I have a message I have to deliver. I've got to get good at giving that message. So
Mm.
again, it's a balancing act. Okay. Does that make
Okay.
sense again?
It's making sense. I was wondering, do you have like an example you could give of, a leader that was, about this, having that difficult conversation, and then kind of what you did with them to make them think differently? Yeah.
Okay, so I find leaders fall in one of two camps. Either they're running around telling everybody the difficult messages on the drop of a hat, and people are offended and put off and take it rather difficult in a bad way, or they go the other direction. They keep avoiding and avoiding and avoiding. So how about I give you a personal example? I was working with a colleague. We were debating about whether we wanted to do a joint event. And we had met with some folks who were going to be involved with us in this particular joint event, and the parts were just not falling together. It's like I got point A, I got point B, I got point Q, I got point R, but I couldn't connect A, B with QR. They just logically didn't hang together. And I don't think to this day that they hang together. All right, now I got to deliver that message, because otherwise I'm swept into a project that doesn't work for me, or we're sub-optimizing what I think we could achieve together.
Mm.
All right, now, how do I deliver that message? If I deliver that immediately, I run the risk of really offending somebody. If I do that on email, that's a little bit riskier. So what I did was wait 24 hours. I wrote my email. I don't have a choice of doing it in person. So wrote my email and then said, I'm going to sit on it for 24 hours. I'm going to go back and edit it again. I'm going to make sure that I say this in the most supportive way I can in terms of what I agree with and what I see, but I'm not going to avoid pointing out the disconnect because that does me no good and the other person no good. Okay? Now, I happened in that particular case to strike a nerve with the other person that I suspect slightly offended them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm.
I'm sorry. I'll apologize. We'll try to regroup, but I felt strongly about what I said, and I have to have the courage to say that. So notice the balancing between that. I've thought about it, I've worked through it, I've reread it, I've tried to be careful in my crafting of the message, but I'm not avoiding something I think is really important.
So yeah, this idea of how can you be assertive without being a jerk? How can you get your point across without being, without coming off mean or
Right,
negative?
right.
That kind of balance, huh? Is there some kind of checklist, some kind of framework or mindset? I
There
know.
is, yeah, there are a couple of things to do, but the first one is if I've invested in the relationship, then I'm going to have an awful lot more grace to give that difficult message. In this particular case, I had invested a lot in this relationship. Now, having sent that message, I just withdrew from that bank account. But fortunately, I think it was a pretty large account, so I think I'm okay, but we'll see with time. All right. So, first, have I invested? Two, does the person believe that I'm coming at that with their best interests at heart? Or do they believe I'm coming at it from a self serving point of view? That's where my messaging matters and what I focus on really matters. All right. And then three, if I got it wrong, am I willing to apologize and course correct? So, I can't, if I say every message that comes to my mind at the moment it comes to my mind, I'm going to way overtip being direct with people. So I have to pull back and say what really matters here. And is
Mm.
this an important one? And I have to invest it in the relationship. There's one last piece of this one too, Ryan. You have to stop back and say, who am I dealing with on the other side? Are they more sensitive? Is this a person that is really good with giving a lot of praise and saying wonderful, glorious things about absolutely everybody? Okay, then that's a clue that they might take a critical message more harshly than I intend.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I love all the points, but the first point especially, this idea that you gotta the more you've invested in these people you're communicating with, the more room there is to be assertive and say what you mean because you understand the different points about each other. Yeah, you understand the way that they're gonna respond, or they understand like the place that you're coming from. They understand that maybe last weekend you were out doing something, or maybe you two were like out at the bar together last night and you're a little cranky. It's like you have that relationship with your people, and a small team, smart startup, small team, small business, or whatever. That's really easy to do. You can have all these relationships with people,
Mhm.
but how do you do that as you scale and you start to be removed? You're not hiring the people anymore, but now it's someone else who's hiring, and maybe you've never even met that person before, and you have to be assertive and direct. Is there, like, how do you scale this interpersonal communication? Are there some tips you can give about that?
Yeah, you want to model it first with your direct reports. And then you want to be coaching your direct reports to do the same thing. Okay. And you want to make it part of the culture of the group that you are leading that this is how we behave. All right. So it's a constant messaging out about that. But when you're scaling, you don't actually know what your direct reports are doing in their meeting and how well they're hitting your mark or not hitting your mark because you don't actually see them. So there is no substitute for skipping down a couple of levels and just checking in with people. How's it going? What are you hearing? What are you worried about? What are you thinking? Now, I'm not doing that to sort of bypass the authority of the people who are my direct reports. I'm doing that to listen to what's coming through. What messages am I giving are really filtering down to the bottom? I'm doing that to have a touch with the entire organization. And I don't know anybody who succeeds at this without that level of touch. There's a point, if you get large enough, where you can no longer do much of that. So you are now relying on your group at the top being close enough to you and to your cultural style that they're monitoring that within their own organizations. And it can fall apart quickly. Let me trust you. One hire, one missed hire can change everything.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Maybe we go to. It just reminds me of, we have a client who, what he does is goes into these like large scale organizations and creates a podcast for them. Like, so this is especially something relevant in like large sales organizations where the leader is going on and they do like a podcast every morning or once a week or something, and they're acknowledging, this person did this great job, and we've got this person who's out in this territory here on the show today, and he's going to talk about what he's been doing. So in that way, you're still like the voice of the leader is going out to the organization, and you have a kind of touch point. And I've always thought that was such a cool idea to do.
It is a cool idea, so long as people in the organization feel that it is genuine and not staged. All right, so you often find leaders who do town halls. Many people in the organization say that isn't very effective. You have to ask yourself, why is it that they're feeling that those kind of communications are not genuine, authentic? And then back up and say, what am I doing to change that so that whatever I'm saying feels authentic, real, honest? Because short of that, you say anything you want and it won't make any difference.
True. Yeah. I mean, it just makes me think of like leaders of nations talking to the country. It's like, yeah, it's one person, they're talking to the whole nation, but that's all planned and staged, and they're saying what they want you to hear. And so how do you really keep things authentic?
Okay. Yeah. So let's take this as an example. Once a population, and you would say this in the US at the moment, it's certainly true right, left, and center, but once a population decides that they don't trust a leader, then you're going to look for everything that is incorrect, inaccurate, misguided, staged in that leader and critique it. It's like it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. As a leader of an organization, you don't want to start down that track because it is not a good track to be on, not where you want to go. So then you have to pull back and say, well, what am I doing that conveys to my people more authenticity, more honesty, more integrity, more straight up? And I happen to believe that authenticity is equal parts confidence and humility. Okay, so you just want you to hang on to that one for a minute. Confident that we can get where we need to go, confident we can get out of this crisis, confident that we've got the right team leading, confident that this is the good organization, good people to be working with. Confidence. Also, one part humility. Yes, we made a mistake on that. Yes, I made a bad judgment call. Yes, I don't know how this is going to go. Yes, that's an area of uncertainty. Yes, that's a mistake we're going to avoid. A willingness to talk about the gaps, the holes, the missteps, the uncertainty, not in a way that goes, oh, this is a disaster, but in a way that says, I'm confident we can solve it, but this is real. You get that balance in place, and people tend to respond positively to that. So if you look at national leaders, for example, what you get is all the confidence and very little humility.
Well, and I imagine it seems like in today's age, I mean, things are moving so fast with communication, our ability to share messages and just turn on our cameras and go live to the world. Everything's revealed. Everyone has video cameras. It's like everything is being recorded. There's no place to hide. But, this is a very recent thing. So like, what do you say to that leader that's had this kind of corporate faced like their entire careers, and now they're in this new world where they've got people that are wanting them to be more, authentic. And how do they make that shift?
Okay. So first off, what's the social media and your presence in the world is just a reality. I don't care what you think about it. You can pretend otherwise, but it is a reality. Anybody who thinks they can do something and hide is kind of good luck with that. It will come back to bite. I think the more important thing is to say, why do people want to follow someone? Because let's admit, if you want to follow me, you're inspired to follow me, you're engaged in following me, I'm going to get better performance out of you at the end of the day. All right. I got to keep you a little bit longer. I'm going to have you tell me ideas or mistakes that you think we're making, and we can have a debate about that. So I have to get people wanting to follow me. What makes people want to follow me? They're inspired. Why are they inspired? Because I believe in them. I believe they know things. I believe they can do things. They're inspired because they feel like I'm authentic, that I have genuine energy. That's confidence in humility. I can't get inspiration without emotion. Inspiration is an emotion. It's an excitement. It's there's this energy to it. I can't get energy without what comes with the rest of it, which is a whole emotional range. So we have to get skilled and comfortable with the fact that human beings are emotional beings. So we want to be able to talk about those emotions. We want to acknowledge those emotions. We want to acknowledge that those emotions color our judgments on occasion. When you get to that place, then you've got all the tools to get people to follow you. But you have to understand that's why people follow, not because I said something clever.
Yeah. So this brings up this idea of charisma that I love. I love this word. I love the idea of it, but there's always this question of, is this something that you're born with or that is a skill? Like I have this book here about charisma, and from what I've learned, the word first came from some, like, I think it was like Paul or John. There was like one of those two, and it's this idea of channeling, to channel God through you, like channel this divine kind of energy, and then you're able to, to speak and have this energy in a way that people want to follow. So it's this kind of very ethereal kind of thing. Personally, I think it's been half and half. I definitely had to learn how to be good with people. I had to learn how to communicate. I learned a lot about personal development and self-identity and spirituality, and all these things have combined into where I feel like I have a self to express. But yeah, what's your view on that charisma and how to express that?
Okay. All right. Yes, you were born with it, and yes, you have to learn it. So I
All
think
right.
people are born, yeah, it's both. Okay. Start anywhere you want. I don't care. If you don't feel that you have a lot of a charisma, I don't feel like that's an excuse, because you have to say, well, what is it that people who are charismatic do, and how can I do more of that? All right. So we're back to the same question: what constitutes charisma? And my favorite definition of this one is really from Harvard School of Communications, and they say charisma is the ability to express a broad range of emotions appropriate to the situation and to the audience. And I just think that's really interesting. So we're in a crisis as a company. It's not clear, if there's going to be layoffs, if there're going to be a whole bunch of things, or like it's just really a crisis. We're all worried. And I can't express that emotion. I can't say, this is a scary time, and mean it. Nobody's going to take me seriously. They're going to be out of there in 2 seconds. But I can say, this is a scary time, and I have confidence in our ability to take the next step. Don't know what that actually looks like 2 years from now, but I have confidence that the next 2 steps we're making are the right ones. To me, that captures charisma, because I don't want to be so charismatic that I just lull people into following me over the edge of the cliff. That is not, we've seen that in history too. That's not where we want to go. But I want to have this, again, confidence and humility baked together in a way that kind of, pulls people to me. That plus believing in people, I think, are sort of an ability to express emotions. I think that's the range. Now, when I say express emotions, I don't mean to have a temper tantrum in a town hall. That is a bad strategy. I mean the ability to say, I'm really frustrated about this, and then to be calm. So it's the expression of, not the acting out of.
Yeah, and it comes back to what you originally said about great leadership, like confidence and humility. It's that you're confident in the direction, and people follow people who are clear. So we say this about messaging in your marketing all the time. It's so if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. And if you do have a clear direction, yes, you're polarizing some people, but you are going to still attract people that are around the sphere who you're not exactly for with your messaging, just because of the fact that you're clear and people know what the heck you do. So just having that clarity and confidence and having a direction, that is such a huge thing. And then as far as the humility goes, so I think about this a lot in conflict kinds of conversations. Like I was just talking to my business partner today, and he had a call coming up with a client, and he kind of didn't want to do it for some various reasons. And I was like, man, you should like do this. You made a commitment. And it's like, but I'm not really dealing with this client. You are. I can understand from your side that things are different, but I still think that, you should do it like this, but you do what you want. So in that way, I can't just tell him what to do, but I tried to find this balance of, hey, I understand where you're coming from. I get it, but this is what I would do. This is what I believe in. And that's kind of the best I can do.
Right. Okay. I would give you one advanced step on that one. So I understand where you're coming from. I've understood 1, 2, 3 points that you're worried about. Just that synthesis leaves the other person feeling genuinely understood, appreciated, and heard. Bonus points. Now, instead of telling them, here's what I do, if you're going to ask 2 questions, I would just ask you to think about how you will handle this, or what you would say to X, or what you think, could we consider this kind of thing? Just ask the questions. And the questions are designed to get this other person to think differently about the situation. That's your best shot at getting them to change their mind.
So okay. Which questions to ask? Yeah.
Ask, instead of saying, here's what I would do, ask 2 or 3 questions that point to the direction you would go, and let the other person think about it.
Okay. Is there an example you could think of in that situation? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Okay. So imagine that a client is asking for a discount, and you believe strongly that we shouldn't give a discount. Okay?
Yeah.
And I would say, all right, Ryan, I understand that you don't want to offer a discount on general principle because that has a bad precedent. I understand that you feel like we give too much to this client. I'm just going to reiterate the 3 points you said to me so that I heard your real concerns. Okay? Okay. And then I would say, all right, there's 2 things I want you to think about. 1, what's the cost for us of losing this client now and next year, so long term? And 3, what's the value of this client for the next 3 years? Come back to me with your thoughts. Now, what I'm getting you to do is to do that long-term trade-off. To say that, yes, over time, we might make more money by a small discount here, or no, we will make less money over time and it's just not worth our time. But I'm getting you to think about the issue I want you to think about, and then I'm letting you make your own decision. But I asked a question that steered you in the direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes more sense. Yeah, and it's good. You're putting it into their hands, making it feel like their decision, but really making them, like, getting them out of this emotional state of what they want to do and actually take some time to consider it. And hey, you also need to trust people too. So
That's right.
It's a peer-to-peer relationship. Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, it is your relationship with this client, and it really is your call. I just want to make sure as a whole that we're thinking about the long-term implications. So I need to ask those questions to make sure you've thought about it. And it's not that I want you to become unemotional, because you're going to be ineffective if you're not emotional. I just want you to make sure you've thought about the full range of emotions, not just the one you're experiencing right at the moment.
Yeah. Thanks, Wanda.
It's the questioning. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the questioning that's the secret sauce. So you started this with one of the things that you learned is to listen, and absolutely totally listen is a fabulous way of improving any communication anywhere. Second way to improve communication is to get in the habit of just summarizing what you've heard. Now, not playback word for word, but get to the essence of what someone said. So there are two things you said to me that are really interesting to me, one and two. That's synthesis. That leaves you feeling really pretty good because you feel understood, you feel appreciated, you feel valued, you feel respected because I heard you. I don't have to agree with you, but I heard you. All right. The third skill in communication is the ability to ask a question that gets you to think differently so that I can get you to think and move where I would like you to move without having to tell you. Those are the three core skills as
Mm.
manager in particular that are going to be really effective. They work in life as well.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, great. Yeah, I really like that last one. Just makes me think of sales and the way that I handle sales conversations is if I'm talking to somebody about their messaging and their marketing, I'm going to ask a question like, what does your lead generation strategy look like right now? Are you like sending out DMs or sending out emails? So I'm asking this assumptive question that one, that they have a lead generation strategy at all, and then two, I'm giving them these ideas about ways that they could be doing it so that they think, oh, wow, yeah, I probably should actually have a strategy. And I would like to have those channels actually working for me. Interesting. So it's like we're opening up gaps and helping people realize things on their own, which is so powerful when it comes to, yeah, sales and influence
Yep.
and all that.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. A- And, could you, I wanted to ask about more about the marketing side and things for you. I just, it's at least three books, right? Is it three and you have a fourth coming out?
It's three and a fourth is coming out. So the
Three.
first one is on five factors, women's helping women to get to the top of the organization, basically. The second one is you can't know it all, which is about this expertise trap that we see everywhere. The one coming out in November is called Taking Charge of Your Career. So all the things you need to do to manage your career, particularly at mid levels. And the last one is about top teams. So there's my promotion. I've got it all ready to go. One, two, three. That's what the books are about.
Yeah, nice. Well, can you just say a bit about how you built up, how you let out the courage and the discipline to write a book, just like even to get one out, let alone, have four. Because so many people I talk to, everyone wants to write a book. We've all got a book in our hearts. My mom says I need to write a book someday, and I believe her, and I want to. But it's like the imposter syndrome comes up. Is it going to mean anything? Is anyone going to read it? Does that matter? Am I smart enough? Do I have enough credentials for this? Like, how did you go through that process?
Like you don't ever get out of that process. I have this book
Cool.
that's coming out in November that has been years in development. I still really believe in what I'm saying, but I have a crisis of confidence on that one on a regular basis. I wake up going, oh my gosh, what if everybody hates this? I just think when you're moving out of your comfort zone, you always have that experience of, oh no, is this going to be okay? And that doesn't mean you stop doing it. It means you say, oh, yeah, I'm feeling like I'm worried about it. And I won't know until it's out on the market. Maybe people will love it. Maybe they won't love it. I can't know. I think they're going to like it. But, you always have those moments of crisis of confidence. If you wait until the moment when you have no doubts, then it's probably too late to write the book.
Mhm.
So, out of the comfort zone is acting when you are not feeling 100% confident. Now, the second secret to this one is you can't write a book by yourself. Anybody who thinks that's a smart strategy, good luck. Even novelists know that it's not totally a solo sport. You've got a whole host of, just read any books, any great book you like, the acknowledgments page of all the people that were involved in making that manuscript come to life. It's not a solo sport. So find people who are going to help you and who do things that you don't do terribly well. Like, I hate editing. I can structure it. I can talk. I don't like going back and making all the sentences and the grammars and the dots and the periods in the right spot, commas. Ugh. Find somebody who does. They're good at that. Let them do it. And I always say to people who are busy like us that the way to write a book for me has been to schedule it. so that if it appears on my calendar as an event and I'm working with somebody else, then I will make it happen. So I just have to write in chunks accordingly.
Mm.
That's my secret.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I really like what you're saying about, that you need help. You always need to, it's great to hire great people that can help you. So I'm curious, where did that click for you? When did you realize that, maybe as a part of your journey, and where does that usually come up with people that you're working with?
Yeah, I grew up as an academic where you were supposed to do it all by yourself. Bah humbug on that one. And the first time I realized that I know how to write an academic paper reasonably well, but I don't really know how to write a business book. And that I need somebody who understands what that formula is, and who can help me structure my words in that formula. I got a lot smarter at that point. So for the second book, You Can't Know It All, I worked with an editor who insisted that I hire a writer to work with me. That writer, Andy, was brilliant. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. And I learned so much by having him talking through the content of the book with him, having him reframe it, seeing what he captured and what he didn't capture, and kind of just working through that process. And that's having done it once, I got smarter about it and then realized the skill set I needed somebody else to bring.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense to me. I mean, yeah, the more just, it's what I realize. There's just so many things to do and not enough time. And more as I go through life, I only want to do a very few specific kinds of things. And I'm just doing as much as I can to have someone else do things or have AI do these things. That's my current project, is how can I get AI to do as many of these things, or just make things more
Fair enough.
productive. Yeah. So this has been really great, Wanda. I think, we've gotten so much good material here. You've been great. You've said a lot of amazing things. I want to steal a closing question from Steve Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. Is there something happening that we're not talking about? It's kind of the question. Is there something we haven't talked about that we should be talking about?
Thousands of things. Give me a steer in which direction. One of the things that we haven't talked about that I thought you would ask me about is, how do you know what you want to say? Because one
Well,
of the
how
problems
do you?
with communication is I've got to have a message that I want to say. And there is no substitute for stopping and saying, what is the main point I want people to walk away with? And I think particularly in business settings, if you say that, you stop and ask yourself, people are going to remember one thing out of my communication in this meeting. What's the one thing I want them remembering? Then how do I frame that in a memorable way, in a sticky way? And then I'm clear, much, much, much clearer about the examples I'm going to give, the way I'm going to support it, the way I'm going to answer questions. But if I haven't thought about that, I'm all over the map. So that's the one thing we haven't talked about. There's 1,000 others, but how about that?
Yeah. That is very good. I mean, that's the whole purpose of our positioning and messaging work that we do with clients. It's and it's kind of, the way that we've been, maybe you can riff on this for a little bit, because the way we think about it is, it's important to say, what you stand for and how you do things. But what we found in this super crowded kind of market of coaches and consultants, the kind of people that we work with, is that there's so many in the space, and many in the space are unqualified, people that are saying they're making big claims because everyone's using the same marketing playbooks, the irresistible offer and the ClickFunnels funnel, and everyone can be a copywriter. So everyone's using these same kind of marketing techniques, and their offers getting more and more ridiculous, that all these people that we're trying to reach, sophisticated buyers, people that actually like to invest in things. A lot of us, I talk to people almost every day that they've invested in things, they haven't got the results they were promised, and have been burned. So really, messaging and positioning, it's not even so much about here's who I am and what I do and why I'm so great. It's here's how I am different than everyone else. Here's why, and even further, here's why all the things that you've been trying haven't been working. and I'm going to help you understand. I'm going to help you understand why that is and what actually does work. What's my unique approach to that? So we're getting even away from the symptoms and this patterns level of what's going on to this solution aware level of, you've been trying all this stuff and it hasn't been working. Yeah, there's a deep reason why. I'll help you understand that. So we take this kind of doctor frame, which is interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, what's your kind of formula take on that of how you can have a memorable message?
I think you have to decide. I'm telling you how to have a memorable message. That's easy, but you can't. But somebody has to decide what's the message at the beginning. And I make it memorable by telling a story that's attached to it, by giving a single data point that captures people's attentions, by having a really cool graphic or art thing that captures people's attention that was related to it. Those are the three big ways of making an idea sticky. I got to start though with what's the idea.
Yeah.
And I can do a phrase, like a turn of phrase can also do that one.
Oh man, I feel like we could go into a whole discussion here on marketing and messaging and all that, but I think let's save it for another time, Wanda. We've got a lot of covered a lot of great ground here and had a great show. Yeah, really appreciate having you on here. Is there anything else, any kind of final thoughts you want to leave us with, or you think we've covered it all and let's just go to the beach?
We should just say we covered it all and go to the beach. I would just say there's nothing more important than conversations. It is my mantra. Everything that happens in business happens in a conversation. So everything important, I should say, happens in a conversation. So stay with it. Whatever it is, this communication thing is really, really powerful. Stay with it.
Agreed.
And pleasure talking with you.
Yeah. You too, Wanda. Yeah. Thanks a lot for doing what you do. I was really excited for us to have this talk, and I hope we definitely do it again soon. Anyone else out there, I'm going to put Wanda's link to her LinkedIn and her books in the description here. So definitely check those out and buy everything and hire her. And we'll see you guys again soon. Bye.
All right.